This will be for the con assignment, estimating equations of lines of best fit and using them to make predictions. All right, so you can read the write-up if you want, but you really don't have to. In all of these problems, we have data points, okay, and they fit a line to the data points, all right, and we basically have to choose out of their choices which one represents the equation for this line. All right, so remember the standard linear equation, standard line equation, y equals mx plus b. Okay, and in statistics they use this symbol on top of the y. Okay, you just call it y hat. All right, because it's basically fitting a line to the data points. The points aren't all on the line, so it's like an estimate of the points, or estimate of the line. All right, so let's see. We know that B is our y-intercept. Okay, this here is the y-axis, and this one here is the x-axis. So we can see from our line, if this kept going, if the y-axis kept going and the line kept going, we can see that the y-intercept would be approximately -1. Okay, roughly speaking. So let's eliminate some choices based on that. All right. So you can see B and C, they have positive 0.5. Okay, so it can't be B and it can't be C. But out of A and D, we still need to find the slope. All right. So remember, M is your slope. Okay, and the formula for slope, it's going to be change in y over change in x. Okay, so just pick easy points that are on the line. All right, let's say we start with x equals 1 and we travel to x equals 2. All right, and we're looking at the line, not the dots. Okay, so how far up do we go to get to here? Let's see. All right, how far up did we go? We started at 2 and we went up to 4.5. Okay, so 4.5 minus 2 is just 2.5. All right, so we went up 2.5. And how far right did we go? Well, we just went from 1 to 2. So that's just 1. Okay, so the change in y is 2.5. And the change in x is just 1. Okay, of course 2.5 over 1 is just 2.5. All right, so the slope m is going to be 2.5. So rewriting this equation, we have y hat, and that's going to equal m times x, or 2.5x. And we estimated the y-intercept at -1. So we have to choose the one that's closest. All right. Now we said it's not, let me see here. Just fix this. We said it is not B or C, all right, because these have a positive y-intercept. So it's not B and it's not C. But our slope is 2.5. So here the slope is 0.5, so it's not D either. So we have to choose answer A. Okay, so you see I was off by a tiny bit with the y-intercept. I got -1, they got -0.5. Like I said, just choose the best one. Now there's a follow-up question on these. Okay, based on this equation, estimate the rating of chips whose cost is $1.10. Alright, so we're basically plugging in $1.10 and seeing what we get for the rating, the y-axis. Okay, but you don't need to look at the graph for the follow-up question. You're basically just plugging in to the answer you chose. Alright, so don't plug it into the estimate. Plug it into the answer that you choose. Alright, and we're always plugging in for X. Okay, so for the follow-up questions, we're plugging in for X in order to get a value for Y. So Y is going to equal 2.5x, so that's going to be 2.5 times $1.10 minus 0.5. Okay, and just use the calculator. 2.5 times 1.10 minus 0.5, and I get 2.25. Okay, now it says round to the nearest hundredth. Alright, that's 2 decimals. So we already have 2 decimals. We don't have to round it. And you just type this in the box. Alright, so these are all basically the same. You can read the write-up, but you don't have to. Alright. So here we have a graph, hours playing sports versus the mood rating. Okay. So always use the line equation. Y equals mx plus b. Okay. We know that m is the slope. And we know that b is the y-intercept. Okay, and remember the y-intercept b is where the line intercepts the y-axis. Okay, so this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. Alright, so let's see. The y-intercept, we know that it's 5. Okay, so just check your answer, see if you can eliminate some. Okay, so it has to be B or C. Okay, because it's +5 and +5. It can't be A. Alright. Now, if you look at the slope, we can find the slope. Okay, but you can clearly see the slope is positive. Okay, because the slope goes up and to the right. Okay, so it's positive divided by positive. Alright, the slope is gonna be positive. And we said the y-intercept is 5. So this one's easy. Okay. The y-intercept here is 5. And the slope is positive. So it's answer B. On answer A, the y-intercept, they have it as 1.5. So it's not A. And answer C, they have a negative slope, so it can't be C. So that's it. There's no answer D. It has to be B. And then again for the follow-up, You always plug in for x. Okay, and make sure you use the equation that you chose. So 1.5 times x, which is 2.5, plus 5. Use the calculator. And I get 8.75. Okay, they say round to the nearest hundredth. That's 2 decimals, which is exactly what we have. Make sure your answer makes sense. All right, they're saying estimate the mood rating. Okay, so 8.75. Does that make sense? Well, yeah, the mood rating would be around here, so that's fine. All right, so let's do one more here. So here we have the average March temperature for the x-axis. And we have the date in April of first bloom for the y-axis. All right. Always start with the equation y equals mx plus b. Let's see if we can find the y-intercept b. Here's our line. Here's our y-axis. It intercepts right here. That looks like 28. All right, so b is going to be 28. And let's look at our choices. Okay, all of them have b equal 28, so we can't eliminate any choices. We have to find the slope. So the slope m that's going to be change in y over change in x. All right, so pick 2 points that are easy. All right, let's go with the 4. X equals 4. That's right here. And I'm going to go with x equals 6. That's right here. Okay, so for the change in y, let's make our little triangle here. The change in y, we're going from one point to the other. Right here, we're at y equals 20. And right here, we're at y equals about 16. Okay, so we went from 20 down to 16. So since we went down 4, that's going to be a negative 4. Okay, and the change in x, we went to the right. So we went from 4 to 6. That's going to be 2 units. Okay, always remember, if you go up, it's positive y. If you move down, that's negative y. If you move right, that's positive x. And if you move left, that's going to be a negative x. All right. So the change in y was negative 4. And the change in x was positive 2. So the slope is negative 2. All right, so we just match our equation here. If we have a slope of negative 2, that's going to be negative 2x plus 28. Almost positive we have that. All right, that's answer C. Negative 2x plus 28. Okay, for the follow-up question, we're plugging in for x. All right. So we're looking at 5.5. X is 5.5 plus 28. So this is going to be negative 11. And if you subtract 11, that's going to be a 17. Okay, now see if your answer makes sense. Based on this equation, estimate the date in April her flowers will bloom if the average temperature is 5.5 Celsius. So it's going to be the 17th of April. All right, just you can check the graph if you want to see that, if that makes sense. All right, the 17th of April will be about here. And does it match with the 5.5? Yes. It's going to be about here. All right, so it makes sense. All right, so like I said, get your equation. Pick the choice that's the closest one. And whatever choice you pick, use that equation and plug in for X for the second question.